So it finally happened, huh? After months and months and months, we finally got another look at Breath of the Wild 2. Or should I say, Tears of the Kingdom. Or Tears of the Kingdom? I'm not too sure. Another thing for people to debate over, I guess. And we got a release date, May 12th, 2023. So 8 months away. There was certainly some wild stuff in the trailer. I appreciate that it really struck a fine balance between lore nuggets and good looks at gameplay. But I'm not going to do a trailer analysis this time, because when it comes to Zonai stuff, I'm hopeless. And you're way better off just waiting for a Nintendo Black Crisis video or a Masked Nintendo Bandit video. Instead, I just want to talk about the trailer itself. I want to talk about what I like, what I dislike, and some worries that I have. This video is short and sweet, and you'll definitely see some more content from me about the trailer in the coming weeks, but this should be a fun chat and a good chance to get something out there. So, what do I like about the trailer? Well, I think the way that Nintendo has dealt with these trailers has been nothing short of masterful. Every single angle, every moment has been perfectly handpicked for the sake of promoting discussion and speculation. And I think this trailer does the best job of it so far. The first half of the trailer doesn't even show gameplay. It's literally just cave paintings and ancient artworks, but I know for a fact that it's this portion of the trailer that got people the most excited. The rest of it's cool, don't get me wrong. I'm pretty excited to beanstalk my way up to the islands and ride a freaking green goblin glider of all things. But look at this, and that. Is that Ganondorf? Are these Zonai? Is that a Zonai making a pact with an ancient Zelda? Are Zonai actually just the forest spirit from Princess Mononoke? I think in most other game series, the choice to spend half of your 90-second, hugely anticipated trailer looking at some cave paintings would be a huge disappointment. But the Zelda team knows exactly what they were doing, and there was something on that wall to get anybody excited. I've been on record as not really being that interested in Zonai lore, and I was still captivated. And yeah, let's talk about that glider. How cool is that? One of my biggest hopes for this game was that there would be more options for movement. The fluidity of movement in Breath of the Wild is probably my favorite aspect of it, and I always wish that we could have taken things to the next level through items like the hookshot that were taken out of the game. But I also understand that Nintendo wanted to make traversal itself part of the challenge, so they avoided trivializing it as much as they could. But as I always say, Tears of the Kingdom is not Breath of the Wild, and I think it's okay for it to try new things and leave certain conventions behind. Breath of the Wild can be the game about conquering the elements and mastering the terrain, and Tears of the Kingdom can be the game about Tokyo drifting around the mountains and Tony hawking through the elements. And I think the existence of the foot glider signals to me that the Zelda team may be on the same page as me. We don't see much of the foot glider, just Link landing on it and descending downward, so there is the possibility that it's not a very exciting feature, and perhaps it just travels back and forth between set distances, or goes comically slow when you try to leave designated paths, like the spinner in Twilight Princess. But there's also the possibility that you can call the glider to you and use it to weave among the mountaintops. I think it's really exciting regardless. I also love that it seems like they really did keep their word in making the sky portion pretty sizable and worked into the existing game world so well. Watching Link skydive through the clouds and seeing the rain start while he reaches the other side of the cloud was kind of breathtaking, and I love that it seems like there are multiple ways up to the sky portion. That was one of my worries, that they would be sort of segmented off like the Silent Realms in Skyward Sword and would only be reachable in certain plot moments, but that doesn't seem to be the case, and we see two different ways up. One sees Link climb his way up via a vine, and the other sees him traveling by some sort of rock lift that glows the same color as Magnesis. So what did I not like? Well, this might be controversial, but I don't really like the title. Tears of the Kingdom or Tears of the Kingdom. Either way, it just sounds kind of, I don't know, fanfiction-y to me. Like, I thought a lot of the fan titles were pretty horrible, like Death of the Wild or Birth of Malice, or any of the other fan titles that I've seen. And while Tears of the Kingdom is better than any of those, I can't help but shake the feeling that it does have a bit of that fanfiction-y amateurness to it. It's honestly kind of difficult to put into words why I don't like the title. It just feels a bit, I don't know, self-involved. Like, I enjoy Breath of the Wild as a title because it relates to the plot, but also the feeling of the game. And that doesn't seem like it's the case with Tears of the Kingdom. That seems like primarily a lore-based title. But then again, I'm not totally sure that's a fair criticism, because most Zelda games have titles that are based on their lore, like Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, and Majora's Mask are all just named after the items in the game. I guess I just prefer titles like Breath of the Wild, Link's Awakening, and A Link to the Past that convey the feeling of the game more than the lore. So I'm willing to admit that I'm probably being unreasonable on this point, and that there's a good chance that as time passes, the name will grow on me. One thing I have no complaints about though is the logo. That is slick as hell. Might be one of my favorite logos in the entire series. The other major complaint I have is one that I think a lot of people share, and it's just that I was a little bit disappointed with how scant the trailer was. We've waited a long time since our last look at the game, and since it's coming next year, I think we all kind of had in our minds that this next trailer would be something a bit more comprehensive. Maybe a look at some controlled gameplay, or a more straightforward explanation of the plot. But instead, we got a 90-second trailer that was arguably more vague than the first two, and it also covered a lot of the same ground as the second trailer. So I can't help but shake a sense of disappointment that we have to wait even longer for a proper expansive look at the game. It's not to be ungrateful. I'm really happy we got a title and a date, and that we got some new footage at all, but I think we're all suffering with this agonizing wait. As for worries, I personally don't really have any, but one worry that I do see often is the date. I've seen some people say that 8 months is way too long, and others have said that it's way too soon. I actually think that 8 months is a very reassuring period of time. To me, it means that they didn't just use the delay for tiny little polishes. If you consider the time from the initial delay to 8 months from now, it suggests that the delay was to work on the core of the game. And while some people think that means the game is in some sort of development hell, I don't think that's true at all. I think they took an additional year or so to make the game perfect. Not just to finish it, which is something we often expect from delayed games in this hellish AAA gaming landscape, but I think the delay was to put the cherry on top and make sure they were providing an experience that stands on its own. I don't think they want us to think about this game as just a sequel to Breath of the Wild. I think they want us to think about it as the next mainline Zelda game. In order for that to happen, and in order for that to be the case, they really need to do a lot of work to differentiate it from the first game, especially considering the shared mechanics and overworld. So I think the fact the game is still 8 months away means they wanted to give themselves lots of time to polish the game and add content to it without having to worry about splitting their time and resources between polishing and marketing. This probably means that they'll have the game ready to go pretty soon, and then they can turn all of their energy towards marketing. So my guess, and I could be wrong here, but my guess is that Tears of the Kingdom will probably have a pretty chunky marketing campaign. The only other thing I can say is that I'm a bit sad we didn't get to see Aonuma or Fujibayashi, but that's further reasoning for why I think a bigger presentation showing more of the game is still in our future, and now we can count the days until that happens. Did you see those little green dudes marching across the screen? That's the Subrosian Parade, and if you'd like to take part with a Subrosian of your own, you can do so by supporting me on Patreon, which you can find a link to in the description, as well as a link to my Discord and Twitter if you'd like to come talk to me about Tears of the Kingdom. So how do you feel about it? Are you excited? Is your hype kind of diminished at this point? Any other thoughts? I'd love to hear down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you're paragliding out there, keep your eyes peeled because technology advances in Hyrule and you do not want to be smoked out of the air by that thing. And as always, stay safe out there. It's dangerous to go alone.